Hey, good morning, everybody. Good to see you. Sean here from Voice from the Dirt Road. Looking forward to having a great conversation with you this morning. In my opinion, we have an excellent show for you. We're going to be talking about what is going on in the world of agriculture when it comes to fertilizer, when it comes to the drought that we are currently in, um, and how is that affecting all of us as farmers across the entire United States, but specifically here in the Southeast. With that, before we actually get started into that, let me kind of walk us through the stool so that if we got new viewers, they understand what this show is all about. One of the things when we put this show together, we said we wanted to talk directly to rural America, but at the same time, talk to our brothers and sisters that live in the city to try to get a baseline of understanding of what's going on in the rural community and how is that affecting people that live in the city. With that being said, we work off a concept called the stool here. And that stool process, we talk about livestock of cows, chickens, hogs, whatever it is. We talk about livestock in that particular lane. Then we also talk about row crops. Row crops is cotton, peanuts, soybeans, you name it. That is the row crop lane. And that row crop could also be considered if for the people that are raising gardens and all those kind of things. So the people who actually produce the vegetables that you'll see at a farmer's market of something of that nature. And then over there on the other side, you can't really see it too well, is forestry. And forestry is anything that deals with our tree production. Those guys that have the fruit trees or specialty crops or anything of that nature, that is our forestry side. And then on top of all of those things fall up under the USDA, under that umbrella. That is the organization that no matter which lane that you're in, that we all feed back into either NRCS office or FSA office. I know I'm using a lot of different acronyms. Next week, what I'll make sure is the team behind the scenes, when I rattle all these things, will be to put them on the screen to say, hey, this means this means that. So I apologize for that up front. It almost seems like I was in the military or something, how I'm just rattling off stuff. But at the end of the day, the USDA is the one that gives us an umbrella that helps us, give us guidance, but also gives us money to help put crops in the ground, or if we're in a crisis, to keep us going into the next step. And right now, you're going to see in this week's show that all of us are hurting, even if we don't want to admit it. We're all hurting across the board based on some things that are happening overseas, and kind of go from there. But the last piece I just wanted to mention as you look at that stool is the farm bill. Still, as of right now, as we speak, the farm bill has not made it through Congress. There's a lot of talk about it. Portions of it was addressed during the big beautiful bill. Some of those things are coming out, but because of everything that's currently going on in the world as a whole, we're not seeing the effect of it, good, bad, or indifferent. So we will stay laser focused on trying to communicate to the rural community, bringing your voice forward, but at the same time, communicating to our brothers and sisters that live in the suburbs and the cities throughout the United States to ensure that you understand where your food is coming from, why things are happening in a certain way, and linking those two worlds. So I look forward to getting your questions. I know I got to get better a lot of times on the comments. I don't actually see them in a timely manner. So everybody that loves to tell me good morning, thank you. I say that in advance. Thank you for that. And then we're going to also be looking closely as we go through this morning. If you got some questions pertaining to what we're talking about, I'll try to get it on the screen and address it. One thing before we get started, today I want to do one thing. If you actually just stick with me, my very first video is going to kind of become our baseline, because a lot of things are happening in the world when it comes to fertilizer, when it comes to diesel fuel, when it comes to anything that we use on the farm to produce the food that you actually eat in your house, or the meat, or whatever it is. Because y'all guys know that I'm a cattle farmer right here in Northwest Georgia. This week on my own farm, and we'll talk about this more next week, but on my own farm, we actually just put out fertilizer. I will tell you, it cost me a lot of money to put that fertilizer out. and that fertilizer is going to be great. And I want to say the word is going to be great, but we hadn't received any rain yet. So until we get some rain, that fertilizer is not going to do anything. It's just kind of sitting out there in the grass. And when we finally get some rain, hopefully, right now my phone is telling me we're supposed to get rain on Sunday. So we pray that we do, because until we get some rain, it's not going to do anything. The grass is not going to grow, and it affects the whole cattle operation. So the things that we're going to be talking about today on a large scale is actually affecting me just like every other farmer, at least throughout this Southeast region and really all over the country. So with that being said, next week we'll spend a lot of time talking about my farm, what we're doing, because I got a little bit behind. I'm not going to lie to you, on the farm. So this past week I've been spending a lot of time catching up on a lot of things, because in 2 weeks we actually go back into calving season. So we'll start our AI process. And this year, I plan to take y'all through that whole process, every step of it, good, bad, and ugly, and kind of go from there. But got a lot of great things going. We're going to do those things so that you better understand what's going on here on the farm. And then on top of that, overall, what's happening throughout the United States and really the world. But today, my first video is a little bit longer, so please stick with me. But I think this video will give you a very good synopsis of what's going on from the war over in Iran all the way back here to your neighborhood farmer and how those two things are connected. We only going to have 2 videos today, so I want to let everybody know that. So please pay attention to this very first one. The other one is going to be very short, but this very first one I think is the best news report that I've actually ever seen on the whole thing, to get a better understanding between what's happening in the war front and how is that affecting the farmers here on the ground. With that, I'm going to stop there. And team, just go on and play that video, and I'll see you in a few minutes on the backside.
Welcome back, everyone. The war between the U.S. and Iran has sent the cost of some goods soaring, and caught in the crosshairs are none other than U.S. farmers. From the fertilizer to plant their crops to the diesel that runs their tractors, farmers are feeling pinched from all sides. ABC's Elizabeth Schulze was in Virginia, where there's real concern about the long-term damage this war can inflict.
It's peak planting season at Coulon Farm in Bealton, Virginia. 4th-generation farmer Ben Smith and his father Ken are now applying fertilizer for their crops, including soybeans and corn.
You can underspray, but you can't overspray.
Farmers prepare for all sorts of contingencies, but not necessarily war.
We didn't see this one coming. We weren't prepared.
The crops they're getting ready to plant will be used to feed their herd of dairy cows.
How much milk comes out of this farm every day?
About 10,000 gallons leave this farm a day.
10,000 gallons of milk every single day.
We watched as a fuel truck filled up the farm's diesel tank. It happens 3 times a week here during planting season. With his trucks and tractors all running on diesel, Ben says they're going through about 3,000 gallons a week.
We were paying roughly $3.50. Now we're at about $5.50, so it's increased $2 a gallon.
$2 just in 6 weeks.
That's about right.
It's a pretty big increase in a short amount of time.
A pretty steep increase in a very short amount of time. They left me scrambling trying to find some additional storage tanks so that I could try to buy up as much as I could now before it continues to track up.
According to GasBuddy, diesel prices are up nearly 50% since the start of the Iran war. Ben says he's paying an extra $80,000 in fuel this spring compared to last year, plus $35,000 more in fertilizer.
So you're talking more than $100,000 in extra costs because
exactly
of
right.
what we're seeing with the supply chain and the war.
That's right.
About 1/5 of the world's oil and 1/3 of global fertilizer supplies typically flow through the Strait of Hormuz. And with the strait effectively closed since the start of the Iran war more than 6 weeks ago, farmers across the U.S. are grappling with an historic supply shock that's sending costs soaring here at home.
Why are they seeing higher prices for fertilizer when even this fertilizer isn't even necessarily coming from through the Strait of Hormuz or other countries in the Middle East?
So a lot of it is just such a global market that no matter where it's coming from, it's affected.
Britton Green is the director of agronomy at a co-op that supplies fertilizer to Ben's farm and others in the Virginia area.
So these two cars here are potash. They come out of Canada.
Canada.
And the two we're looking at here are urea, and that originally came from Russia.
He shows us what urea, a nitrogen-based fertilizer, looks like up close.
Kind of looks like snow.
It does.
Like little pellets.
Yep. About $90,000.
Each rail car is $90,000 worth of product.
Yes.
And what would it have been?
About $50,000.
So
2 months ago.
Each load, the price of a load went from $50,000 to $90,000.
President Trump is taking note in a post writing, "I'm watching fertilizer prices closely during our fight for freedom in Iran. The United States will not accept price gouging from the fertilizer monopoly. American farmers, we have your back."
Are you following like the president's posts about what's happening? Like, are you?
Yeah, we're watching that closely because whatever's posted can have a really big effect.
For many American farmers, the surging costs of fertilizer and diesel are just the latest challenge for their bottom line. Last fall, the trade war left many farmers scrambling after China refused to buy U.S. soybeans. The White House stepped in with a $12 billion bailout. Now, Agriculture Secretary Brooke Rollins isn't ruling out more help from taxpayers.
Everything is on the table. This president is convicted. He is resolute. He will stand with our farmers. He knows that it's a national security issue.
Do you blame the president's policies for what's happening here?
No, I don't know who's to blame. I think it's just part of life and part of business.
Ben Smith says farmers in his community are getting creative, turning to whatever cheaper fertilizer alternatives they can find, like manure, which is rich in nitrogen.
For the first time that I can remember, we're actually exporting manure to a neighboring grain farmer.
If you had a farmer come to you to say, we'll take this manure off your hands because fertilizer costs are so expensive, this is an alternative.
That's right.
A lot of consumers are looking at these rising diesel or other input costs and saying, well, does that mean soon I'm going to be paying more at the grocery store?
I think that's going to affect all of us. Even my wife and I, we go to the grocery store and get our groceries just as well as anybody else. I think it's inevitable that that's unfortunately going to trickle down to the consumer.
But for many farmers like Ben, price hikes in the grocery store don't always translate into bigger profits.
There's been times in the past that milk has gone up in the grocery store and it's actually trended down here on the producer side.
So just because consumers are paying more for groceries doesn't mean you're making more money.
That's exactly right. In fact, we're usually not.
This fourth-generation farmer is confident he can stay afloat.
We're going out the other way, aren't we?
Well, we're going out this way.
All right, fine.
Long enough to keep the farm running for the next generation.
Legacy is important to me. I love what I do. I think there is no greater career choice for me than dairy farming, but there is some pressure associated with performing and keeping it going and being able to hand it off to the next generation in a better condition than when I got it.
Well, as you can see there, like I said, that was a little bit of a longer video than we normally like to play. However, I think it captured everything that is currently going on in the world for the war, for what's going on with our farmers, and on top of that, how farmers are actually looking at the situation. Prime example, a couple of things I just want to point out there is the fuel costs, diesel costs. I think it's important. I know the ones of us that live on a farm understand that, but I think it's also important for our brothers and sisters that live in the cities to understand during planting season, those fuel trucks, depending on how much land that you're actually farming, could come to your farm every week and fill up your tanks. So that could turn into a very high cost. Like that gentleman said, roughly about $100,000 over and over and over. And if you're not sure where you're going to sell that crop, then you're going to have some problems on the back end. And in his case, he's a dairy farmer, so he's obviously he is on the milk side of it. But in addition to that, I thought was also significant. Like I mentioned to you this week, I actually put fertilizer out on my own farm. Originally, I was going to put chicken manure out. Come to find out that because the supply and demand, chicken manure has actually went high. And because my pH level at my farm for my soil is very good, is 6.6 6.5. I know we'll get into all of that next week, but because of that, I could actually get a cheaper rate for commercial fertilizer. So I went on and locked it in. I paid that day because if I didn't pay that particular day, the price would have kept going up. And I came out here and put it out on the farm myself. So we're having to make decisions where sometimes you would have paid 6 months from now or 3 months from now or a week from now. Now, if you're looking to get the best price or the best price that day, you get it, you pay for it, and you keep on moving. And then the last piece is where it talked about, because farmers now are in a pickle with what's going on in with the war in Iran. The farmers are still in a pickle with going on with China. Are they going to continue to buy our products or not? Fuel costs, all those kind of things. It may be more payouts that are coming from the USDA, which is Secretary Rollins. She did not rule that out. And the unfortunate piece is, I believe some of these things are going to make some of our farmers get in a situation where we're going to be going into bankruptcy. And that is my greater concern, is that if we don't watch it and get things timed out and get things resolved, and sooner or later, some of our farmers that are a little bit less fortunate or cannot bridge that gap is going to actually end up going bankrupt, and then their land going to be up for sale. And the question is, does it stay as farmland, or does it turn into a very nice housing community where they name the roads after farms and stuff? So with that, we still got a lot more to go. Like I said, I just wanted to give you a baseline of currently what's going on. And what I'm speaking on here is actually affecting me as a farmer myself, because like I said, we just put that fertilizer out. As of right now, it's been out sitting out there for about 5 days. No rain. When I look at my phone here, it says potentially I got a chance to have rain on Sunday. We hope and pray that we do get some rain, because we need it. And I'm going to talk more about the drought on the other end of that. But let me go back to, I think everybody knows John Boyd. John Boyd is represents African American farmers. I don't remember the exact title. But he is that voice, and he's usually on a news station that I have been seen on News Nation. Usually when I'm on that particular station, I'm talking about the war as a retired general officer. Sorry about bringing that word into it, but John was just on there with a person that I usually talk to on a weekly basis about what's going on in Iran, and I thought it would be very significant to hear his point of view as we move forward, because every farmer is not at the same level. And what I mean by that, some farmers try to do this directly out of their own pocket. Some farmers take out big loans. Some farmers do it all kind of different ways. But if you don't watch it and you get yourself over the barrel, you could be bankrupt in this business in a hurry. So with that, let's see what John had to tell Murky on that show. I think it was just yesterday.
I'm now joined by John Boyd Jr., a fourth-generation farmer and founder of the National Black Farmers Association. John, good morning to you, sir, and thank you for your time. I love the hat, by the way.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for having me.
You have sounded the alarm that farmers are being pushed to the brink. Just for starters, what have the past 6 or 7 weeks at war been like for your farm?
Well, I'm one of them struggling farmers that don't have fertilizer. And the rise in cost, local dealers are saying, hey, we can't get enough fertilizer in for farmers. That's the first thing. And the second thing, farmers can't afford it. You know, the increase that you spoke about, that 30% increase for America's farmers for fertilizer, that equates to about $140 per metric ton. And for the good fertilizer that has a lot of strength, that equals to about $200 a metric ton increase. And that equates to $100,000 for the average farmer in this country. You know, today we have 200 farmers in foreclosure that received foreclosure letters from USDA. I hope someone asked the secretary about that during today's hearing. And what they could do is issue a complete farm moratorium on direct loans, guaranteed loans. Farmers should not be losing their farms while we experiencing this man-made disaster that we're having right now.
Yeah, it's frightening. You know, this is your bread and butter. I'm also curious, what does all that mean for crops and consumers this year? How much more will we be paying for everything, and will we see a shortage of those crops in the grocery stores?
Both. You're going to see the shortage of those commodities that show up that we use every year, you know, that we take for granted, that we produce in abundance, you know, corn, wheat, soybeans, rice, and cotton, all these things that we've done every year that's quietly went under the radar screen in abundance is going to be in shortage because fertilizer is the first step in the process, and people is planting season right now. And the first step is to apply fertilizer to your fields. And as I sit here, I haven't done it either. So I'm hopeful to hear that the Secretary will have some sort of immediate relief for America's farmers to get farmers like myself fertilizer. That's the first thing. Yeah. So we have to have fertilizer, and the American consumer is going to pay the high cost in the coming months in local grocery stores. So the American people are going to pay for this as well.
Yeah, I mean, that fertilizer is the backbone of even getting a yield for the season or for the year, yes. Anything. I mean, are you able to turn a profit this season, or are you already farming in the red right now?
I'm farming in the red. I'm one of those numbers that you spoke about. 95% of America's farmers are saying that they're doing worse than last year this time, and many cannot afford the high input costs. We haven't even talked about the price of diesel fuel. Diesel fuel is $6 in my local township for off-road diesel fuel. That's the stuff that farmers use. $6 a gallon, and my tractor holds 100 gallons of diesel fuel. So every time I fill up, that's $600 that I wasn't, that I simply didn't have in the budget, people. And,
yeah.
Farmers need help. And the people that are watching this, we shouldn't let 200 farmers go to the auction block when there's foundations that can help. And these agricultural companies that made billions of dollars off America's farmers. It's time to give back. Yeah. You can't just sit there and wait for the government to say they're going to do something in coming months. So we have American companies that can assist America's farmers right now, and they should open up their purse strings and help us too.
I mean, the prices that you're paying for everything, just exorbitant. Quickly, with just a few seconds left, I mean, do you have a plan B in place? How much longer can you hold on here and keep doing business in the red?
Well, not very long, and that's why you're seeing the drastic increase in farm foreclosures. I said earlier that farmers are receiving loan acceleration letters from USDA, and they've been denied loan servicing. So these are things right now that this administration can do to stop. Farmers should not be receiving farm foreclosure notice when we didn't cause this problem. We didn't start the war. We didn't put the tariffs in place, but we're paying the price for it. And that's what we're saying. These are things that can be fixed administratively, and they should happen. Every time I watch your show, the president says, the price of oil goes up, they make money. Well, who is they? Because America's farmers.
Because it's not the farmers right now.
Yeah. No, it's not the farmers right now.
Well, John, I think I speak for all of us in saying thank you for the work you do and continuing to do it right now while times are hard. I can't imagine. Please keep us posted, and I would love to have you back on, sir.
And I would like to say thank you to News Nation for staying on top of this very, very important story when many other networks haven't covered this closely. So thank you to you guys for staying on top of this very, very important story.
Yeah, we'll keep the spotlight on it. That is our pledge to everybody watching right now. John Boyd Jr., appreciate your time, sir. Have a wonderful Thursday.
Well, as y'all guys can see, John, I'm still working hard to get John on our show. I think that'll be a great discussion for all our farmers, but specifically for our minority farmers, to make sure that we get that voice out there. But a couple of things that he mentioned that I just want to follow back up on. 200 farmers as of this week have already received foreclosure letters from the USDA. That doesn't mean they're going to be foreclosed on. That just simply says, look, if you don't bring some money up here, get some money up here, I'm not sure you're going to be able to get an operating loan, or you're going to be able to farm next year. And maybe some other farmer may end up buying your farm. But right now, money's tight across the board. In addition to that, when he talked about off-road diesel, Off-road diesel, just to let everybody know, when you go to your gas station and you see where people fill up their car with regular gas or unleaded, and then they fill it up with diesel, that diesel there is not off-road diesel. That's the diesel you put in your trucks, cars, whatever you're driving. That is just regular diesel. Off-road diesel has a red dye in it, and that red dye is strictly for farm equipment. If you see a truck, sometime you're in the rural community and you see a truck that says a regular pickup truck and it says farm use or farm truck, and it's a diesel, then that truck can actually have the red dye in it, but it's strictly supposed to be used on the farm or when you're taking something to the town. And if you get caught using red dye diesel in your vehicle, you will be fined and you can potentially even go to jail. The last piece I just want to bring out that John mentioned, and it also was mentioned earlier in the earlier thing, is many farmers, just like myself, I did not buy my fertilizer in advance. That's normally not what we have to do. Normally, fertilizer is always there. You go get it when you need it. And usually you pay 6-7 months down the road after I sell my cows or after we do whatever, just like the row crop guys. So with that being said, right now, very few farmers here in the United States did the pre-sale on fertilizer. So they actually, now when they go and buying the fertilizer, they are buying it at a highest rate ever. And that input cost is killing them. And like John said, most farmers don't have a plan B. You either are going to be successful or you're going to fail. And there's no plan B. So we're going to stay on top of this, because I think as this war continues to play out, we're going to see we're going to get some easement from getting a deal done, or is the federal government through the USDA is going to have to start sending some money out to farmers to keep them afloat. We'll see. So let's transition right now, just real quickly, because that is the man-made situation that we were just talking about. That's 100% man-made. But in addition to that, now we actually have a national disaster that's actually going across the country. As y'all guys probably saw the news the other day, certain part of the country is getting massive rainstorms, floods, and all those kind of things. I saw that up in Michigan, where now they're getting a lot of rain, but at the same time, they have the snow melt, so they got places of the flooding. And then we have us down here in the southern part of the country, and we are in the middle of a drought. And with that drought being said, many of our farms are now starting to fill it. And what I mean by fill it is this. Like I mentioned, I already put fertilizer out. It won't do anything until it actually gets wet. So hopefully we get some rain on Sunday. But you know, the weatherman tells us we're going to get something, you get the exact opposite. So, but in addition to that, if I was a row crop farmer, it doesn't make sense to put that seed in the ground if it's not going to germinate anytime soon. So you got the input cost that's very high, but also you have a situation of that we're in a drought. Can you just put up the there you go. Thank you very much. I just want to take a few minutes and kind of talk through this. Yeah, make it big. They don't have to see me. Make it big. So this is how I keep up with it. I just wanted to show y'all guys, because this is very important. And we'll put the link out there. I finish talking, but you will hear on the news where they will talk about D3. D3 is exceptionally drought, extreme drought. As far as where I live, or the part of the country that we live in, we're not there yet. We are in what we call D2. D2 is severe drought, and it is listed by county. If your county is in a drought situation, then at some point the USDA may step in and give you some kind of assistance. But you're still going to have to make it through the course of the year. In my case, if we don't get any rain, we don't actually have any grass. Hence, if you don't have hay left over from last year, then you're probably going to start having to sell cattle just to be able to make ends meet. With that being said, Shelly, come back to me now. With that being said, in my case, or the cattleman's case, or livestock case, if you start selling things off, then as y'all guys know, our herd for the cattle herd is the lowest it's been since in the last 75 years. With that being said, if we in the middle of a drought, you don't have any grass, they don't have anything to eat. Now you got to sell it off. So we're back in that vicious circle of not growing the herd. We're getting smaller and smaller and smaller. And one thing none of us can control is the weather. So with that being said, that monitoring thing is the one that tells USDA, tells the farmers that are you in a drought and how bad a drought that you're actually in. And if you're actually in one of those particular categories, perhaps later on in the year, USDA will send you some kind of little small check to help you get back on your feet for the following year, or help you where you can buy some additional cows. Shelly, will you put that link back up again? I know it went quick. And I will ask you also to put it into the chat so that people can pass it to their family members, because this is not only talking about our farms. This is actually your county could very well be in it, and you live in Atlanta, Georgia. Okay. So this actually affects every last one of us. If you live in a city, I know some cities tell you how much water you can actually put on your grass, where versus out here on the farm, some of us have irrigation systems, but all of those things cost additional money. So I just wanted to make sure that they know exactly where to find it and kind of go from there. But the key thing is, if we don't get rain here very soon, at least in southeast United States, because that's the area that I live in, or specifically we live right here in Georgia. If we don't get some rain, you're going to start seeing, at least the cattle farmers, we're going to start having to feed hay again, or we're going to start having to sell off some of our cows, because if you don't have the grass, you can't feed them, and you won't be able to increase your herd. So with that, today's show, I tried to give you a baseline. We will follow back up next week, where I will specifically take the time to talk about what we're doing here on my farm. I'll talk about the whole how we went and got the fertilizer. I'll walk you through how you get it, how I bring it to the farm, how we put it out, all of that, so that you get to see behind the scenes. And then in the future, because I think here in less than 2 weeks, we will start our AI process. AI stands for artificial insemination. We'll start getting our cows pregnant. And I plan to take you through that entire process so that you can see it, at least what I can show on YouTube. And then I have already coordinated with my bull guy. We call it a cleanup bull. And that cleanup bull is already scheduled to come to my farm on the 2nd of May. And so the same morning, we'll get the cows pregnant that morning. We'll attempt to get them pregnant that morning. The bull will come that afternoon, and he'll be here for 60 days. But we will put together those particular shows, because I want to make sure that when you hear farmers talking about the AI process, when you hear farmers talking about bringing in a cleanup bull, that you can reference something back and say, okay, I clearly understand what we're talking about. And plus, this show is not only for the people that live in the city or live in the rural community. This show is also for those farmers that are maybe kind of new to the game, or have been around forever and say, you know what, I want to see some new techniques. So Sean, thank you for showing us that, because here on our farm, or here on my farm, we're doing most of the new things that you see at the universities right now. And in future years, this farm will turn into a place where if other farmers or other people are interested in learning how to do farming or cattle production at a very, very high level, then they'll be able to come here and we'll see how we do it. So, and I think y'all guys have seen here on my farm that we rotate our cows around, and now we have that complete system done. So we got a lot of things we can show you, but that is my ultimate goal, is to make this a thing that when you look at the show, it gives you some information, but you can look at some of the other shows on YouTube and look at it step by step, and you can apply that to your own farm, or take pieces of it and apply it to your own farm. Hey, I always do this at the end of the show. because as you notice, it is extreme pressure on farmers. John Boyd said it. Right now, it's over 200 farmers that are potentially going into foreclosure. In addition to that, I think that number had us at 2122 for Georgia, and I think that number is going to go even higher. So the pressure's on our farmers. So I always love to end our show this way by saying, look, you may have pressure, it may be tough about all those kind of things, but do not make a short-term decision for just a problem that we can get solved for you. So with that, I always say this. Y'all guys know I'm a veteran. You know that on the veteran side of the house right now, we roughly got 22 veterans that decide to make a decision to commit suicide, and that's 22 too many. And we need to make sure that we get out there in front of this situation with our farmers, because many of our farmers live in the rural community and they don't have any mental health services. So because we don't have those mental health services, please, family members, the farmers, whatever you're going through, just call this number right here, 988. Call that. Somebody get on the phone with you and talk to you. And I assure you that you make it to the next day, the sun will still come up and it'll be okay, because if you listen to all of these farmers, they always talk about they're the next generation. They don't want to lose it and all those kind of things. So those are little hidden words that farmers are saying, yep, there's a lot of pressure out here. And we want to make sure that our farmers still are in the game. So please, if you're struggling today, call that 988 and those guys will be able to help you and get you on to the next day, and it'll be just fine. So, hey, guys, I know today has been I don't want to say it was a long show, but I think it's a show that gives us a great baseline. I think it's a show that somebody will be able to look back at over this week and say, hey, now I better understand what's going on in the world of agriculture. I saw it now from a minority farmer point of view, and how it's affecting them. And then on top of that, you got a chance to look at a little bit of stuff of what's going on with the drought. And so if you go outside and say, man, the weather's great, sometimes you might need to say the weather's great when it's raining too. So with that, hey, my cup is empty. Thank y'all guys. Have a great day.